If you don't want to see this part or hear this part of the video, then I will give a link below and you can go right to the Jesus Aquarium from Chile. Okay, so some of the comments that were being made I thought were interesting. I don't know if you happen to read the comments, but the tank you are looking at, that is the Goldfish tank. And what is missing from it from the last time you saw it is I removed that black sand. And by the pictures you see here, you can actually see, now the sand was no deeper than an inch. And when I pulled the sand away, you could still see air bubbles trapped in the sand. Now, that's almost 2 months of those air bubbles being trapped, which means that they're not escaping, oxygen is not flowing through the sand as likely as it should be. And I bet you that you can go into the Goldfish aquarium, the 40-gallon breeder, you're not going to find any air bubbles coming out. But here in this aquarium, you can see the air bubbles still trapped in the sand because fluids aren't moving very good. Okay, I digress from that, but I will get a substrate a little more open than sand to put it down there for cosmetic purposes, and so the goldfish can dig through it. It won't be very deep, half-inch, just enough to cosmetically make it look nice. But anyway, let's get on to what some of the people said that I thought was interesting. Here's one fella, Kyle M., says, I adopted this method about a year ago and tried to put my own twist on it. It didn't work. Too many uplift tubes, I believe, as well as duckbill outlets. I got discouraged and stopped trying. Recently, I started watching your videos again and followed your system to a T this time. Algae is disappearing, water is so much cleaner, and the fish are doing great. It's a 75-gallon with 2 big goldfish. One is an 8-inch black moor. That is one of my favorite fish of all times. I don't want to lose him. It also has community of tetras and a cleanup crew. The tank has been running for 3 years and has always had issues until now. The anoxic filtration system works. And to Kyle, I have to say the same thing happened to me. Same thing happens to a lot of people, Kyle. Always had issues of fish getting sick and everything until I really came up with this anoxic filtration system and what really needed to be done. And then my goldfish problems were over. On another one I want to read to you is this one. The YouTubers, for the most part, have their channels to generate income. And that's absolutely true. For example, I'm surprised that my particular channel is gathering about anywhere between 10 to 20 new subscribers a day. Every day I get anywhere between 10 to 20 new subscribers coming into my channel. And that's great. I know it's going on winter time. People are spending more time at home. I'm getting more views. And people are thinking about aquariums, or they're thinking about maybe they have enough time to redo their aquariums because things aren't maybe the way they want them to be. And I notice that my viewership has raised with the amount of views that I'm getting on my channel. But I think that's pretty good. 10 to 20 new subscribers a day. I think that's good. I was quite surprised. It's raising more and more as each day goes on. Let's see. Continuing on what he said, their sponsors do not use or endorse BCB baskets because there is no money in this filter, although it works. Dr. Novak, you and Father Fish are running into the same problems. What would happen if stores backed to BCB baskets? How would they generate enough income to stay open? Think about all the merchandise that would not be necessary. There's needs to be a change in the aquarium hobby, but at whose expense? As hobbyists, we are all in for change that makes our aquariums more stable and easier to manage, but the industry doesn't want hobbyists to have this knowledge. This is typical of the direction in all venues in our country. The COVID vaccine has caused many to have side effects, some mild, some moderate, and some severe. Doctors, just like the aquarium industry, will not hear of it. So the truth about so many things in our lives is kept from us because a few individuals are getting rich. I'm not saying vaccines are not necessary to save millions of lives. It's the way data and information kept from us. How about that analogy? And that analogy is very good. He's hit the nail right on the head with that, using that analogy, because data and information, let's say for this COVID thing, is really being kept from all of us. There are drugs out there that actually cure COVID and actually will stop, if you take it, from you spreading COVID to another individual. Yet we don't hear about it. Or we hear about it, let me put it that way, but if I dare say the word, this video will be taken down. And there are a few things out there that can stop and help people. For example, and I'm going to give you an example because this is a true example, the state of Florida has monoclonal antibody treatment centers. The Governor DeSantis has said that these treatment centers are all over Florida. They've treated over, 160,000 people. But most of the people that have been treated already had the vaccine. Kind of makes you think, what are these vaccines really doing? Are they really helping anybody? Are they doing anything? I'm not an anti-vaccine person myself. You want to get one, that's your choice. But it does make you think, food for thought. And I think his analogy to the hobby is the same thing. They know there are better ways of doing things, but they're not going to tell you. They're going to keep it a secret as long as they can, only because of money. And as everybody says, follow the money, and you're going to follow why everyone's keeping hush-hush about what's going on. Though what I talk about with the plenum is nothing new. It's been around for a long, long time, longer than a lot of people have even been alive. And yet, why is some of the bigger channels keeping so quiet about it, or don't want to hear about it, or don't want to use it, or don't want to do it? Okay, so that would explain that. Anyhow, let me go on to the next one. John B. from Manchester, England. Hi, Kevin. Wow, thanks for the walkthrough. It's just the sort of example I needed to help me learn. I am so fired up to make my change. Let me tell you how hard I am to convince to change. But though your channel and the science you present, I am forever a convert. I mean, it's actually easy to put it in under gravel filter plates, and I covered mine with extra fine nylon fabric, and boom, job done. Algae-free aquarium is the holy grail of fish keeping. I can't agree with John more. We really don't want our aquariums full of algae. Let's all face facts. We can accept a little, but we don't want things getting out of hand. It's no matter what people tell you, even I tell you, people really don't want it. And I agree with you, John. I can't tell you how grateful I am for your expert advice. Best wishes, John. And John's absolutely right. He's a person that was a convert. I think in my last video I did mention about someone did in one of the comments say he went to a fish store and the fish store said, "Oh, that's too much work." And yeah, it really isn't too much work. Anyhow, and you have to think about it this way, right, people? Um, when you set up your aquarium, that's the only time you get to have fun doing that. Yeah, I enjoy setting it up. I enjoy the anticipation and enjoy the tweaking things and thinking that, oh, I'm going to do this and I want my uplift tube to be here, or I don't want it, or what I want and how I'm going to do it. And you got to think about it. That's part of the joy of fish keeping, is that one-time setup than just walking up to your tank and dumping the bag in. Ooh, lots of fun. That's a challenge. You understand what I mean? Because you can only do it that one time. So why not just do it right and have fun? That's part of the ambience, right, of fish keeping, is that setting up of that aquarium, the excitement, the challenge you're going to get setting it up and preparing it for the fish. And of course, let's not forget, when you set up that aquarium, like I did my aquarium, and the fellow I just read about his expensive goldfish, when you set that up, you're thinking of those very expensive goldfish or those very expensive discus you want to keep, right? Where they cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? So you definitely, to me, want to take the time out to set that aquarium up absolutely right, and don't play games and don't chintz out. And like I have tried to show everybody, I use the materials you would use. I'm not telling you to use anything different. I say, here I set up the goldfish tank, I showed you the materials, I even use sand, I mixed it with a little bit of the aquarium gravel. That tank is doing beautiful. In fact, right now it's kind of a pain in the butt because that hornworth is growing so fast. I've trimmed it 3 times already. It's growing so fast. And I've been throwing it away, actually. It's just been growing so fast in that aquarium. And that's no CO2 or anything else. And the plants are just growing like banshees in that sand. Uh, and that sand with the gravel mix and that plenum, I cannot believe the root systems like the wisteria and stuff like that is creating in that sand. And I have a crypt that just must have had a little live piece that got in there. You should see that crypt, how it's growing. It's unbelievable without CO2. I mean, in that sand using the plenum. It is like, wow. And remember, this thing started out as nothing. Nothing. No leaves, no nothing. It must have had a root that remained, and the thing is really growing great in that sand using that slow-moving plenum in the goldfish tank. Anyhow, let's get on to the next one that I thought was in it. Diving Aquarius. Okay, I set up 2 aquariums this week. Setting up the plenum took less than 10 minutes per aquarium. Anyone that thinks that is too much work should not be keeping fish. And yeah, it really isn't too much work. Not for me. I don't look at it as too much work at all. In fact, that's the main fun of the whole thing. Actually, I kind of like it. Okay, anyhow, Rockefeller, he states, I got rewarded. Nothing to do now. Water clear, fish happy. Got so bored, I'm building a new one. Merry Christmas, Doc. You know, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear that people set up at their aquarium and are getting so bored of the aquarium now. It's like there's no challenge anymore. Unfortunately, that's how anoxic filtration system is. It is yeah, it can get a little boring. So anyway, let's get to Jesus's Herrera from Chile. Let's get into his little bit of tank build here. Okay, we're going to get into Jesus's Herrera's tank build from Chile. It is a pleasure to write to you, he writes. My name is Jesus Herrera. I live in Chile, but I am a Venezuelan citizen. English is not his first language, I must add. I have been watching your YouTube videos, which I found when I started searching for information once I decided to set up an aquarium. I'm new to the hobby. I have a small tank, 7-gallon tank. You know, you'd be surprised how many people out there that I talk to just have small tanks. Not everybody has nice, big, large aquariums like a 55 or 40 or, 75. I use an undergravel filter plate for my plenum. No air stone though. And I'll show you that what he did in place of an air stone. I left the tube in case I need to use one air stone in the future to make it a slow moving plenum. On top of the plate, I put 1 inch of fluorite red, and on top of that, I put 2 inches of nutrient-rich substrate. He says, I'm afraid it's not deep enough. I'm not really sure how to keep track of the progress. So he's got about 3 inches of substrate. That should be good. 3.5 inches. That should be good. But here's pictures of his plenum and what he did, and this is what it looks like. These plates he's using kind of look like Lee plates, but the Lee plates here in the United States are blue, and his are white. But of course, what difference does it make what color it is? You're never going to see these plates anyhow, right? Doesn't matter what color they make them. So as you can see that the uplift tubes are made short, just enough to be covered by the substrate, maybe a little bit poking out. No more of the days of long, huge uplift tubes. And of course, a lot of people ask me about fluorite red. And yes, fluorite red has a lot of iron in it. And it's good to use. And so he placed it on the bottom before he will add a substrate. But of course, he'll clean it, of course, before he puts it on the bottom. That's what he's doing here. He's cleaning it. And you can see all that red in there. That's only so when you fill your tank's not full of red. Me, I probably wouldn't clean it real good. You know what I mean? I clean it lightly, and I want as much as that iron to remain in the fluorite red as humanly possible. But that's just me, because plants will really need the iron in the future. So here he shows the gravel that he used, or the fluorite red, covering the plate. Sorry about the photograph, that it's not super clear, but I didn't take these pictures. He sent me the pictures. So once he put this down, and this is about 1 inch thick, then he went with his main substrate. And of course, this is what he's using, aquarium substrate. This is for premium soil he's using for this. And just like I did in my 90, I used the fluval soil. And my plants are doing great. In fact, since I'm talking about my plants, oh my gosh, the Italian veil. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, or it gets about 12 inches high. It's not like some of the other veils that get like 3 foot. The Italian veil is a shorter plant, but let me just tell you, it's a very, very invasive plant. So if you're a beginner hobbyist and you want a plant that spreads, the Italian veil it definitely does the trick. Once it seems to get seeded, and once it gets established, a root system, I mean, it just starts spreading out all over the place. But isn't that what we want, really? Anyhow, so here's his aquarium. As you see, the lift tube is just a little bit above the soil. He could probably even add more soil, or he could add a cap off if he wants to this aquarium, if he wants to add a different kind of gravel to it, or whatever his preference is. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. And when I saw this picture of the sponge, I wonder, what is this picture of the sponge? What's he going to do with this sponge? Well, here he shows what he's going to do with it. So for the time being, he just put a sponge in there. And he's going to use it as a normal plenum, the way Chaubert explains the way a plenum should be. And the way he says a plenum should be is that you will not have or need any uplift tubes or anything else, but through my experiments and what I have done, I found out that just moving water slowly through the plenum helps it. But so he's going to try without any bubblers or anything. So that's what he added the sponge to. And of course, here's his aquarium. This is what it looks like from the side. It looks quite nice. He already has the fish in it. And this is good to see. Another thing I think that people don't really realize is here's this guy from a complete another country making a plenum. And here we have the luxury in the United States to take advantage of this, because basically this is, if you want to credit, this is a United States invention. We invented this here in the United States. This is our baby. And it's nice to see that the entire world now is grasping it and using something that we Americans have come up with. And I think that's pretty good, because look, in this fish industry, the Germans get credit for filters. You got the Chinese and Japanese getting credit for koi and goldfish, and Taiwan has jumped in there with their goldfish. And really, what does the United States really get much credit for? The comet, goldfish, you know. But you think about it, it's pretty amazing that people all over the world are now using this system and are enjoying the hobby, even with a very small tank. And this goes to show you too, this is only a 7-gallon tank. And he's still using a plenum on a little bitty 7-gallon tank. And believe it or not, a lot of people with little bitty tanks are using an anoxic filtration system because they want to do it right. And he's using the plenum along with a hang on the back filter, and that's it. And if things go well, if he feels he needs to change it, he'll probably pull out the little sponge, maybe add a little bubbler to that corner to move the water down in the plenum better, and we'll see what happens. But this is his tank so far, and it's nice to see that people are enjoying the hobby. Anyhow, that's it for this video. I did want to show you the goldfish tank and removing the substrate with all the air bubbles still trapped in the substrate. And the reason I removed the substrate, now probably people are asking, well, why did you remove it? You know, why? What would cause you to remove that substrate? And I'll tell you what, the tails of the 2 goldfish in there are starting to fray. And that's a bad sign with goldfish. When I'm not talking about splitting. You'll see a goldfish's tail starting to fray a little bit. And that usually means there's a problem. Even though your test kits may be showing 0 ammonia, 0 nitrites, 0 nitrates, which we know is in that aquarium, just about 0, or it was 0, I think, in that aquarium. Still, something's not right. And one thing that goldfish start showing is their beautiful tails start showing fraying. You got a problem, Houston. You need to take care of it ASAP. So anyhow, that's one reason why I did take that gravel out. I noticed something wasn't quite right with the 2 goldfish. They should now heal up and everything should be fine. So anyhow, I want to thank you for watching once again. Oh, And my next video, I'm going to kind of have a recap video about technology and science, because I'll tell you why. I'm getting a lot of new people. And I know a lot of people that have been watching my videos probably don't need to hear much about the filter or how it works or anything like that. But since I'm acquiring anywhere between 10 to 20 people every single day, there's a lot of new people out there, and I should probably recap for the new year exactly what they're watching on these videos. So I will have kind of like a little recap. So those of you who already have heard it and done it, it may not be a video for you, but for those who are new, I will have a recap. I wrote up something. And also in that video, I'm going to talk about a doctor who has been president several times of the Midwest Panacoy Society, Dr. Passavoy. And Dr. Passavoy is a brilliant individual who has been the president of the club in and out through over 20 years that I was with the club. And he did some experiments with the anoxic filtration system, and I will give you what he has written about the anoxic filtration in my next video. And I think you'll find it interesting that this is not me telling you, but this is Dr. Passavoy telling you exactly about the anoxic filtration system and what he has found out by experimenting with it. And that will be in my next video. So until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a happy new year.